brought a snack.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good evening.
Good
That's
evening.
a good morning. Oh.
It's been a long day.
Well, some of you responded, so that's scary. Good evening, everyone. It's 6 p.m. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. I'm going to go ahead and start by asking you to state your name if you're present, starting on my right.
Jessica Ochoa, present.
Carlos Margo, present.
Anita Chavez, present.
Alisa Peña, present.
Celso Gomez Jr. present.
Okay, we do have a quorum, and I see that we have Dr. Hernandez is not in right now, but we may be seeing her a little bit later. Let's go ahead and get to agenda item number 2, which is, agenda item number 3, and that is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able to do so, I ask that you stand up and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Next item on the agenda is our public comment portion of our meeting. Do we have anyone who has signed up for public comment?
Yes, we do.
Okay, seeing that we do have someone that has signed up for public comment, just a reminder, we ask that you make your way to the podium. Go ahead, you have the 3 minutes to state, right? 3 minutes to state your remarks. And at the end of 3 minutes, we will let you know if for some reason you go a little bit over, okay? Okay, sir, you may start now.
Good afternoon. My name is Isaac Curado, Junior Class President at Palmview High School. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today because the teacher's career, reputation, and future are at risk due to the information that is simply not accurate. I am here to provide a factual record regarding Alexandra Peña Flores and the community service event that students, including myself, attended on October 25th, along with other volunteers that may not be present today, but I have their statements here on paper. First and foremost, no LJISD policy and no Texas law was broken. I was physically present at the event and speaking from direct first-hand experience. The event was off LJISD property, outside of school hours, not school sponsored, completely voluntary for every student. No student was ever pressured, influenced, or encouraged to support any candidate. We simply show up, volunteered, worked, and went home. We were not campaigning. We were not participating in any political activity. We were doing what students do when we're trying to build our future through community service hours. Any claims that students were used for political purpose is false. Now I want to clearly explain the law and policy. Texas Election Code 255.003, political advertising. This law only prohibits using public funds for political advertising. Ms. Flores did not use school funds, school equipment, school emails, school facilities, class time, or any school authority. She did not promote a campaign. She simply informed students of a volunteer opportunity, which is no more part of the Gear Up program. Under this law, there is no violation. Number 2, Texas Education Code 11.169, electioneering with district funds. This prohibits using district money to support or oppose a candidate. Ms. Flores used 0 district funds and never engaged in electioneering. There is no violation. La LJISD policy JKDA-GKD, non-school use of facilities and materials. The district restricts political activity only when it occurs on district property, using district resources, or when students are used for political messaging. None of this apply. This event was not on La LJISD property, did not use La LJISD resources, did not involve students in any political messaging. Again, no violation. Alexandra Peña Flores is a teacher who operates with dignity. She has helped hundreds of students grow, serve the community, and prepare for college, career, and life. She would never put students in a political situation, and she didn't. Punishing a teacher based on assumptions instead of facts does not represent the values of transparency, fairness, and accountability that La LJISD stands for. We, the students who are physically there, know exactly what happened, and we're telling you today with completely honestly, the accusations are false. And firing Alexandra Peña Flores will not be unjust and unsupported by policy and the law. I am also here with over 150 signatures from junior students who who Ms. Flores has impacted throughout high school. She has been our mentor. She has helped us with college visits, scholarships, and she has given us her own time to support our education. As the co-sponsor of Class of 2027, she stays late with us, helps us organize events, and even buys materials from her own money so our class can be proud of what we can create. People say school is our second family. For the Class of 2027, Ms. Flores is the person who always checks on us, guides us, and stands up for us. She has taught me personally how to lead, how to think before I speak, and how to communicate respectfully. This is what
Excuse
should
me,
matter.
sir,
This
your
is the
time
kind of...
has passed. Your 3 minutes have passed. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. For the record, if you could go ahead, Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and state his name, the gentleman that just spoke?
Isaac Jurado.
Thank you for the record. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comments. Do we have anyone else who has signed up for the comments tonight?
No other public comments for tonight.
Okay, great. Seeing that we have no further business on this particular agenda item, we're going to go into the public hearing portion of our meeting. It is right now 6:06 p.m. We are now going into a public portion of our meeting, which is the hearing. Again, it is 6:06. At this time, we will open public hearing. Item 5.1, public hearing on this La Jolla Independent School District's Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas first report. Merjet, Crystal, floor is yours.
Good evening, Mr. Alvarez, members of the board, Dr. Sorensen. Tonight, we are presenting to you the required public hearing to show you the Financial Integrity Rating System, or score, for 24-25, which is the fiscal year ending on 24. The Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, or FIRST, is the accountability rating system that is used to ensure that we as a public entities, as a public school districts, are accountable and do use our funding and our financial management effectively and with the best way for allocation of our resources to instructional purposes. The principal goals of the first score is facilitate the efficient use of resources and strengthen fiscal accountability for all the school districts. It provides to us tools to measure how effective we are, increase our resources in direct instructional activities, demonstrate the efficient use of those resources, recognize our performance, and increase the visibility of financial well-being of public schools. This rating works from A to F. We have different standards and different awarded points is A, B, C for everything that is above 70 points, and F for any points that are substandards, and is less than 70 points. We are measured 7 financial ceiling indicators. These indicators are the ones that give us the access to be able to receive the maximum amount of points. These are yes or no questions, regardless of how we manage our funding. Is 7 different indicators, just yes or no. If we miss any of those 7 indicators, we are not entitled to the maximum allotted rating. We have a total of 21 indicators that we had to meet. Those are in this presentation. I'm going to go to some of them, not all of them, because it's 21. But the most important pieces is showing that we receive good audits, that we are showing that our responsibilities are met. We have the days of cash in hand and the resources necessary on the ability for the resources necessary to cover all liabilities, and all the indicators are met except, sorry, I went too fast. We have one of the indicators that we have only 8 points, and this is the measure of assets against liabilities. And this is just related to how we manage our debt daily on our payrolls and all those things, and we still are in a little off on the percentage of the rating. But that is putting us on 98 points over 100, which is a superior standard. There are other required disclosures that we are having exhibit in our website right now, and this is the superintendent contract, reimbursements, compensation and fees, gifts, and other transactions. Those are requirements to disclose in order for us to also access to the maximum number of points. At the end, this is what I wanted to share with you and the community today. We have earned an A, superior achievement, for the management of a fiscally responsible management of our funds for the year ending on 2024.
I think that deserves a round of applause. What do you think, Rajat?
And now we open to public input in case somebody wants to comment on this.
Great. Seeing that her presentation has completed, has anyone signed up for comment during this portion of our meeting?
We do not have any sign up.
No one signed up? Dr. Sorensen, would you like to say a few words?
I just obviously am really proud of the team. So team, if you're here, the financial team, stand up for a second. I'd really like to recognize your hard work. It is a journey that we are taking in the Office of Business, Finance, and Administrative Services to make sure that not only is every dollar accounted for and going to our students and our employees and our programs, and to make sure that we are bettering the district, but that we are fiscally responsible, that we are transparent, and that we are complying with laws and regulations as we should. And so I'm really proud of your leadership, Ms. Crespo. Thank you so much for your integrity, your pursuit of truth at all times, and also your work really guided towards continuous improvement. We know that, it doesn't always happen in a year or two. And so I'm really excited to be able to share with the community that we've earned an A. And we will continue to work on all of our financial processes and fiscal responsibility to demonstrate to the community the trust that the district, the community really wants to have in all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Rajat from the board? Okay, no questions. Thank you very much for the presentation. At this time, we will close the public hearing. It is 6:12 p.m. and open the regular board meeting again at 6:12 p.m. Next item on the agenda is agenda item number 7. I'm going to ask that Ms. Ochoa and Mr. Celso Gomez, board members, if you could make your way to the front of the dais for recognition. 7.1 is recognition of La Jolla High School football coach Ruben Farias. And this will be done by our Executive Director of Athletics. I think this is the first time he's had an opportunity to address the board in this official capacity, if I'm not mistaken. Mr. Jose Peña. Mr. Peña, it's all yours.
Mr. President, Dr. Sorensen, and members of the board, I don't know if it's true, Mr. President, but Dr. Sorensen has mentioned that you are an official.
Yeah, I'll be in Denton this weekend.
All right. I officiated as well, and there's nothing better than going into a game and the food's ready. Everybody is super excited to start the game, but the officials are the most important part to get that going. So today, and tonight, I should say, it is my honor to recognize Coach Farias and La Jolla Coyote football program for a distinguished commendation from UIL. The UIO recently sent us a good sportsmanship report acknowledging the outstanding leadership Coach Farias and his coaching staff demonstrated during the incredible Economides contest. I think, Mr. Celso, you were there. I think it was 59 to 56. They specifically highlighted the positive environment created for players, officials, and our community, an environment that truly reflects the pride Coach Farias takes in representing the great state of Texas. So I don't know if you know this, but Coach Farias is also a board member. So what makes this moment even more special is that this is the second UIL Good Sportsman recognition that La Jolla High School has received this year. A remarkable testament to the consistency, culture, and character of our La Jolla program. The UIL noted his commitment to improving sportsmanship, reducing ejections, and strengthening relationships among coaches, athletes, officials, and the fans, stating that in his program, it embodies the Texas way. Coach Farias, known you for many years, Coach. Your example sets the standard for educational athletics, not only in La Jolla ISD, but across the region. And on behalf of La Jolla Athletic Department, our entire district, we congratulate you and thank you for modeling the excellence, integrity, and character we strive to instill in all of our ISD students. Congratulations, Coach Farias. Very much well-deserved, Coach.
Thank you, Mr. Peña. Thank you. Thank you. Great season, Coach. Mr. Peña, I appreciate that, the acknowledgement. So some time back, I had informed Dr. Sorensen that I had received a call from an official thinking that maybe he was going to complain about what had taken place, right? But one of the things that I did experience was that multiple times this year, I've received calls from various officials that have come to La Jolla or have been part of a game where La Jolla, any of our schools were part of outside of our town. And they've all recognized the sportsmanship of not only our La Jolla football team, but all the other teams as well. And I'm very grateful for that. The sportsmanship, how kind they are, no arguments, no questioning of the officials, the conduct. It's obvious that the classroom extends outside of our buildings, and that was a perfect example. And there's nothing that gives me more pride than to hear that our young women and men certainly represent the school district well. I have no doubt that we have great teachers and our coaches, and so I'm very proud of that. So I want to thank you for acknowledging them today. And it was a good game, even though I'm from Harlingen. I was voting for my La Jolla Coyotes, right? And I took a lot of pride in that. And so again, thank you for that. And yeah, let's acknowledge the officials. I mean, come on, let's acknowledge them. You know, I'm going to be leaving. I'll be Friday at 9, and my game will be late, but it'll be all right. So thank you for that. Any questions or any comments from the board regarding our coaches or Coach Farias and his team? Dr. Sorensen, yes.
So first of all, Coach Farias, I'm so proud of you. You went into this season just determined, right, to really do great by your boys, by your team, and for our district. And we couldn't be prouder of you. We really couldn't be prouder of you and your coaches and your boys. I mean, Friday Night Lights are just the best. And so really your leadership, your sportsmanship, your heart, your dedication, it's just present every single time you're out there. We were actually at the last game and I looked at Chris and I said, so after a game like this, is he like sad? Is he mad? How does he act? And that's because you care deeply about your program, about the performance, but most of all, about your student athletes and your coaches that do the work with you. And so I also want to acknowledge Chris Hernandez, who's sitting there with you, and also an athletic coordinator at La Jolla High School and the principal, Eduardo Flores, because I know personally that you can't do it without a team. And so I really thank you for your leadership. I thank you for your mentorship of me as I've come into the district. I'm truly grateful for all that you do for our students.
Good job. Thank you very much. Again, a round of applause for the La Jolla football team. Our next item on the agenda is agenda item number 8.1, budget and priorities, and by Margette Crespo. Again, Margette, this is, again, the budget priorities and budget process. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President and Dr. Sorensen, members of the board. We are starting our budget season. So we are today, I'm here presenting to you what we are, the first presentation, always working towards our transparency and aligning our financials to the expectations of the district. We are starting today our budget season. So our mission, of course, always centering on what are we here for and our students' outcomes goals, what we want to achieve, and our GPMs that align our system to monitor and ensure progress. Centering on that, we are introducing to you the budget process. This budget process is focusing on 4 different areas: planning, communication, development, and of course, at the end, the budget proposal. During the planning, that is the phase where we are right now, we are going to develop the calendar, defining the process, and priorities and guardrails, and this is where we are today. I want you to start centering the community, centering on what we ended the year on 25-26. During our planning, we initiated this budget alignment that we are committed to on strategic priorities and on a strategic plan. With our 5 strategic priorities: excellence in leadership, empower graduates, thriving students, community trust, unity and partnership, and operational excellence and financial stability. Last year, when we started to do our budget, we didn't have these priorities settled. We were fortunate to finish our strategic plan on time to be able to align and work towards initiating our budget with these strategic priorities in mind. This year, this is what's driving our budget. We are centering ourselves on these strategic priorities to ensure that our funds are going to be maximized and impulsing all district for our North Star goal. What are those priorities that we are going to align with the strategic plan? First, academic improvement strategies. We are going to work on school actions to improve efficiencies, generating reinvestment opportunities in order to provide innovative evidence-based practices that accelerate our learning, or the learning of our students. This is directly aligned to our expectations for empowering graduates. A strategic compensation improvement, which is the promise to ensure equity and competitiveness, to attract, develop, and retain high-quality staff. Some of the things that we're working on here is the TIA, or performance for principals, and correcting and revising our compensation plan to ensure that we are equitable across the organization. The third priority is access to student support and after-school activities, where we will work to expand opportunities that directly support student well-being, engagement, and achievement, directly aligned to our thriving students and community trust priorities. Fourth, operational innovation, investment, and sustainability. We have to ensure that we innovate in our operational systems and processes because we are centering on improving quality, modernize infrastructure, and ensure financial sustainability. This is directly aligned with our community trust and, of course, our operational excellence strategic priorities. What are we looking for during this budget season? We are looking to strategic investments through school actions that can lead to measurable student growth. This budget development will help us to reinvest savings from operational efficiencies to sustain innovation to address all our needs, scale effective school actions, and improve organization through models that are applicable and necessary across the district. Apply academic return of investment. We will continue to grow on that to ensure that all decisions have a direct impact on student outcomes. We will invest in programmatic shift as necessary and any intervention that are grounded on evidence practices to support student and adult learning, and prioritize allocations that directly advance to our North Star performance goals. Again, centering everything around our strategic plan. In order to achieve this, we had to have guardrails, places where we help our organization or members of the organization to make decisions and not deviate of our objectives. We have 5 guardrails. First, a student center. We will not make decisions that compete or contradict our commitment to improve our instructional interventions. Managed instruction is center of all our budget decisions, where we keep our students at core. A strategic alignment, of course, as I have been saying, keeping every decision aligned with a strategic plan and North Star goals. Community trust, this is not only one of our strategic priorities, has to be one of our budget guardrails, because we need to keep working on strengthening our transparency to build confidence in the decisions that we made in the district. And finally, financial stability. We have to remember we have less enrollment, we have an increase of cost, an increase of needs, and looking for improving our programs and facilities. That needs is part of our guardrails. We have to protect the financial stability of the district in order to be able to respond to the needs that we have. Finally, I want to show you the timeline. Of course, always the commitment to come back here and show you where we are, what we are doing, where our priorities are looking like, and how we are calculating revenue and expenses like we did last year. But one of the things I want to show you here in December, the budget trainings with need assessments, priority and guardrails, training for all our staff so they are aware of what's coming, and the school actions proposals. January, stakeholder input, identify capital investments, initiate zero-based budget. We are going to continue with that strategy because it's a best practice strategy for high-performing organizations. And then by May, we should have near final budgets to discuss in public hearings, review, to get prepared for budget adoption in June, as expected. This is my presentation. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know.
Members of the board, do we have any questions for Ms. Crispo? All right, seeing that we have none, thank you very much for your presentation. Next item on the agenda is by Dr. Little. It is agenda item 8.2, school actions. Dr. Little?
Thank you, Board President. Good evening, everyone. We are here to discuss our recommendations for school actions for the upcoming school year, really centering that discussion in our continued pursuit of educational excellence for every student in the school district. So as we lay out these recommendations and the process that we will take to engage the community on them over the next several months, it really always comes back to this vision and our commitment to doing everything we can to ensure that our students have the highest academic opportunities and outcomes possible. It will also connect back to the presentation that you just heard from Ms. Crespo around financial sustainability and how we can reinvest and really shore up what we are working to do with students academically. This presentation also certainly advances our pursuit of these goals. We still have ambitious outcomes to achieve by 2029, and our school actions tonight will help us do that, as well as our goal progress measures and ultimately our North Star goal. You're going to hear more specifically about how this relates to the North Star goal in a bit, and just want to frame that as we think about getting to 90% of our students in A and B rated campuses, that requires a variety of approaches. One of those approaches is through school actions, and that's part of what we are bringing forward today. The other thing that we want to pause for a moment and sort of situate the conversation in is our strategic plan. We have a really robust, ambitious strategic plan to guide us over the next 5 years. based on these 5 priorities. And as we think about the school actions tonight, we're really pursuing priority 2 and 3 in particular, how we empower graduates and achieve the outcomes that we're setting out to achieve with our students, and ensure that we are creating spaces for thriving students to really support the holistic needs of our students and in partnership with our community. The other thing that really touches on the strategic plan is this concept of future school models, like ways that we can go about providing education to students and opportunities that we don't currently have. We heard that a lot through the strategic planning process, that the community wanted to conceive other ways that we could think about schooling in La Jolla ISD. That is one of the initiatives in the strategic plan. And so all of that sort of comes together in this set of recommendations that we're going to share with you in this presentation. And so as we think about our pursuit of our North Star goal, our pursuit of our goals and our goal progress measures, and bringing the strategic plan to life, there are 3 things that we want to constantly keep in mind and are reasons for the school actions that we're going to propose. Number 1, and always number 1 for us, is the pursuit of academic excellence. Like doing everything we can to ensure that students are receiving higher quality education, that they're in the best placements possible, and receiving the best in class services that our students in our community deserve. We also have to recognize that based on our last year's results and accountability ratings, right now only 47% of our students are attending A and B rated schools. Our North Star goal compels us to get that to 90% or higher by 2029, and these school action recommendations will help us do that. The second piece, and this came up last year as we were talking about those school actions, although that was not our rationale last year, it is part of our decision-making process now. And that is the fact that we have lost 27% of our student body in the last decade. So as we sit here this school year, there are 8,000 fewer students in La Jolla ISD than there were 10 years ago. That obviously has ramifications for the number of empty classrooms that we have in buildings, the number of low enrolled classrooms that we have that we're staffing and providing support for, our facility utilization rates. So all of that is a factor in how we think about situating the district to best serve our students moving forward. And to point number 3, to be able to do that in a financially sustainable way. As you just heard from Ms. Crespo in our budget priorities, like pursuing academic outcomes is the number 1 priority. And everything we do has to figure out, how do we reinvest in our students in the programs that we need to get those outcomes. And so as we look at financial sustainability, we know that costs are continuing to increase. At the same time that we're not expecting huge influxes of resources, whether that be from the state or the federal government. So we really have to rethink how we best use the resources that we currently have available in the district. And so with those reasons in mind, just want to give you 2 more slides as context here. We've shared this slide before. It shows all of our schools in their current academic ratings. Again, we certainly own and recognize that that list in the D and F bucket got much bigger last year, and we are working vigorously to change that outcome right now. But across the board, our North Star goal is focused on A and B rated campuses. We got to get 90% of students into those spaces. And right now that group represents less than half of where our students are. And so as we pursue these recommendations, certainly as we pursue all of the instructional and academic work that I'm normally up here talking about, that is in pursuit of that change in outcomes and opportunities for students. The other thing just to see visually is that enrollment decline. Again, we've gone from a district of near 30,000 students to a district of less than 22,000 students within a decade. This is not a unique phenomenon to La Jolla ISD. Districts all across the state, all across the country are struggling with enrollment changes. We are also going to be pursuing a deeper study and look at our demographics in 2026 that will help us better understand and project where we may be going in the future. But want to recognize in our community to recognize that while we have to respond to this and certainly strategically act to ultimately win families back to the district as much as possible, we still also have to recognize the reality that we are a quarter smaller than we were a decade ago, and that requires action from us as a district as well, merely to be good stewards of the resources that we have. And so as I start to lay out these recommendations this evening, We want to keep in mind three things that we are doing as a result. We are always pursuing students being able to attend higher rated campuses. That aligns with our North Star goal, aligns with our vision and mission, and certainly is necessary for us to achieve our goals in GPMs. The second, as we just discussed, we are addressing our decline in enrollment and what that means in terms of our ability to operate schools efficiently and effectively, and pursuing all of this with the lens of financial sustainability in mind, so that the programs that we provide, the academic resources that we put in place, that we can continue to offer those and always have the most evidence-based, research-backed programs and opportunities for students in La Jolla ISD. So on the next slide, I'm going to lay out what our recommendations are this evening, and there are 5 of them. The first 4 all work the same way. They're the same type of school action, and those are called reassigned school actions. Last year, you may remember with Garza, Seguin, and Zapata, we did a restart school action where we restarted 2 schools with the ACE transformation model. In this case, what we're doing is we are closing a school in the district, and we are reassigning those students to another higher rated campus in La Jolla ISD. So number 1 would be to close Benavides Elementary School and reassign those students into Fordyce. That moves students from a D-rated campus to a B-rated campus. Number 2 is to close Pena Elementary and reassign those students to either Clinton or Gonzales. They would be reassigned based on where they live, so that's work that we still have to do in the coming weeks, is to determine which students go to Clinton versus Gonzales, but that also reassign students from a D-rated campus into B-rated schools. Note the little dotted line there, and you may see the note on the left. Those first 2 actions for Benavides and Pena qualify as eligible for LASSO funding. We talked about this last year. That's grant funding that the state provides in a number of ways, not just related to school actions, but there is a school action part of the LASSO grant. And both of those schools do qualify for us to apply for funding to support this transition. We'll talk about this in the next steps, but we intend to apply for those resources from TEA. And then the bottom 2, while not eligible for school action funding, are still ones that we are pursuing, given our 3 reasons, and that is to close Leo and reassign those students to Flores and EB Reina. Again, based on where they live. In this case, we're still getting an improvement in academic rating. And then the 4th one at the middle school level is to close Ann Richards and reassign those students to Garcia and Memorial. Again, all 4 of those work in the same way. One school is closing, students are being reassigned to either 1 or 2 other school buildings based on where they reside. The 5th one is a little bit different. This is a create new school action. That is, again, something officially recognized by the state. There is potential funding available to support this, but just like last year when we talked about ACE, we are planning to pursue these regardless of whether we get those grants, because it is the right long-term investment in our district and in our students. So in this case, we would close JD Salinas. Those students would be reassigned to Trevino. Next year would be a planning year with JD Salinas to reopen in 27-28 as a career academy middle school for all of the district. So this would be an exciting opportunity where students all across La Jolla ISD could apply to attend to really start to build interest, exposure, and opportunity in career pathways. As we are working broadly to really transform our CTE offerings in the district, particularly at the high school level, this allows students to start that process early, really explore a variety of options so that when they do get to high school, they are both better informed and better prepared to actually complete those industry-based credentials and be ready to compete for workforce opportunities. So that one is a bit different, even though short-term it results in the same thing where we're closing a school and reassigning students. Long-term, that is about reopening the building with an entirely new school program and model in place. The other thing we want to recognize before we go through each of these a bit more in depth is the fact that we are not proposing school actions for every DNF rated school at this time. And we want to acknowledge that, be clear about it, but also talk about what that means. The other thing I'll do is remind us for Garza and Seguin, those were school actions we pursued last year as we started the ACE model there this school year. they would continue in that program for next school year. And so they would be in year 2 with ACE. So all of what they're doing continues with staffing, stipends, additional resources, time, everything that we are pouring into those 2 schools. What we're here to talk about tonight are the next set of school actions for the 5 schools that I just laid out. You see those notated with the red school action language. So you got JD Salinas, Benavidez, Leo, Pena, and Richards is not actually on the DNF list. They are a higher rated school, but that is part of our presentation this evening. The thing I really want to point out here, though, are the ones with the purple monitor. There are 5 schools that are currently D or F rated. They're really all D rated, that we're not making a proposal for at this time. We are continuing to monitor where those schools are. We're obviously providing support to all of these campuses, as we've talked about already this fall. And we're going to continue to look closely at how they do this year, what their results are, and what their accountability ratings end up being. So we may come back in the future and propose a school action at these locations, but we're not doing that at this moment. The thing I want to really emphasize, though, is specifically for Dr. Sines. Remember, as we think about the superintendent constraints and the constraint progress measures, we have 4 schools that are superintendent constraint schools. That's Garza and Seguin, where we have ACE. That's Pena, which is part of our recommendation tonight. And the 4th one is Dr. Sines. We are not making a proposal for Dr. Sines at this time, but we are really clarifying for you and the community and the Dr. Sines staff and team that we are going to monitor very closely those results this year. We're going to see what the accountability and STAR results look like over the summer, and we will come back in August with the final recommendation for Dr. Sines Middle School. That recommendation could be to continue the school as is. There's a new leader in place working very hard to improve and transform that campus, and we are really excited about the potential there. So there may be no school action recommendation, or there may be, and it could be any number of what we have in the school action portfolio. But we do want to stamp and clarify that that decision will be made and recommended to you in August based on the results of this school year. So each of the next few slides just go into these recommendations one by one. All of these slides are organized in the same way, so I'll just orient us in the community really quickly to what we have here. So recommendation is obviously at the top. This is Benavidez. It is a reassigned recommendation, and in this case, we can apply for school action funding for this one. It shows you that we're reassigning students from a 69 D-rated school into an 87 B-rated school. So that's definitely in pursuit of our vision and what we're looking for with system of grade schools. Benefits of that recommendation are on the left. You'll see that for each one of them. There are 3 which generally apply across the board. Again, that's moving students into higher rated campuses, addressing enrollment declines and underutilization. And in this case, it's a more simple school action because it's just 2 schools that will combine into 1 school zone. So all of the Benavidez students will be reassigned to Fordyce. So that just becomes one much larger Fordyce school zone. The other thing we are calling out on the right is how many students are part of this reassignment. In this case, as an elementary school, we're looking at pre-K to 4th grade. We don't have 5th grade up there because they're moving on to middle school anyway, so the reassignment won't impact their opportunities for next school year. This also helps make the point about enrollment and underutilization. Right now, we're looking at pre-K to 4th grade at Benavidez for just over 200 students. That is a really small elementary school. It is hard to continue to staff that efficiently and effectively. And so by doing this reassignment and closure of Benavidez, we can make better use of high quality educators, really providing great resources and making the most of our physical footprint and infrastructure in the district as well. The second one is Pena. Again, we would close Pena, which is a low D rated school, and we would reassign those students into Clinton or Gonzales, which are both B rated. Similar benefits here, higher rated campuses addressing enrollment and underutilization. And then we see the number of students at Pena. This is a bit of a larger school, certainly than Benavidez, but still there's plenty of space at Clinton and Gonzales for these students to come in. I will point out in the middle, we have the school zones. The greenish color in the very middle of that map with the red apple is the Pena school zone. If you go directly north into that big pink school zone, that's Clinton. So some of the students would be reassigned there. And then if you go to the bottom right or southeast to the bright green, that's Gonzales. So that's how these schools, or this school zone at Pena, will be sort of reassigned into those two locations. What I will call out is you may also note, well, hey, there's Mendiola and Cavazos also right there by Pena. But as we think about these and go back to reason number one of academic excellence, that would be moving students from a D school into another D-rated school. That's certainly not what we are pursuing. That's why Clinton and Gonzales are paired with Pena in this case, but they're still contiguous. They touch the Pena school zone, and so that still, like geographically and logistically, makes sense. Then recommendation number 3 is Leo. Note that at the header here, it's still a reassigned recommendation, but this is not eligible for school action funding. So we would reassign from a D-rated school into Flores and Ibi Reina. We certainly acknowledge that both of those are C-rated campuses at this point. Both schools have a goal to get back to a B rating this year. Again, really optimistic about what those leaders in those campuses are doing and fully believe that they can get there at the end of this school year. Flores is that salmon-colored zone on the map. Students would either go to the left to the yellow, which is Flores, or up to the right to that darker green, which is Ibi Reina. You may also ask, well, why not send any students to the right where Escandon is? It's because Escandon doesn't have space. It's also a higher rated school. So that would satisfy that sort of criteria, but we can't fit any more students there. So that's why we're looking at the other two options, which are also higher rated campuses than Leo at Flores and Ibi Reina. In this case, again, it's just under 300 students that would be involved in this reassignment. The fourth one, middle school here, Ann Richards. Ann Richards is that long, tall green box on the map. It might actually be one of our largest geographical school zones when you look at how everything shapes out. And then what we are proposing here is that we would reassign those students into Garcia, which is that orange color, that almost perfect square on the map, and Memorial, which is that sort of pink and red colored box. So again, based on where students live, we're able to plot where they live in a really cool software system, and that'll help guide sort of where we draw the boundary lines to know which Ann Richards students go to Garcia and which go to Memorial. But again, in this case, it's an improvement from a C-rated campus into B-rated campuses. And then number 5, again, which works a little differently, except next year it'll feel the same, and that is closing JD Salinas and reassigning those students into Trevino. JD is that gray box on the map next to the bright blue one, which is Trevino. So all of the students in the JD school zone would move into the Trevino school zone. This one, remember, is a temporary closure because we will reopen the school a year later as a new school model, as a career academy middle school. So this is accomplishing a number of things, including moving students into a higher rated campus, yes, addressing enrollment and underutilization, but also really moving part of the strategic plan forward. There are 2 initiatives specifically focused on career and college opportunities for students and re-envisioning and sort of reimagining those pathways and those opportunities. There's also another initiative really focused on new school models and envisioning what may be in the future that currently does not exist in La Jolla. This isn't the only thing we will end up talking about in the next 4 years of the strategic plan, but it is the first new school model that we are bringing forward, focused on our career pathways and focused on middle schools. The other thing I will note here, and you see this as the sort of third checkbox in the benefits of the recommendation, one of the things we also heard through the strategic planning process as well as through staff at the campuses is we have Trevino and Memorial that are currently designated as dual language campuses. Through this process, we would be removing those designations in line with the feedback we received, but also to really make space for other academic opportunities that students are wanting to pursue, but currently don't have access to because of the schedule constraints. I also want to be super clear here to you and to the community. This is not belying our commitment to dual language. We are very committed as a district to dual language. We are continuing to expand two-way dual language programs, and we are recognizing that in the context of these 2 middle schools, it is not actually serving all of the needs that it needs to serve, but we will continue to have dual language classes in both of these buildings as we do in every other middle school in the district. Again, part of the point here is made when you look at enrollment. This impacts less than 400 students at a middle school. We certainly would not think of a middle school being as small as 400 students. So this really helps, again, improve programming efficiency and ensuring students have access to the highest quality educators. So a different type of way to summarize everything I showed you on this slide. I'll just orient us to the table here. So the groupings are together. So you see Benavides and Fordyce. The school in the red is the one that we're proposing to close. The school in the green is where those students will be going. The academic ratings as of last school year. So Benavides was a 69D, Fordyce was an 87B. Enrollment as of October, capacity of those buildings, and when they were built. You combine those together, Benavides and Fordyce together is just under 600 students that would be going into a building of capacity of 750. So still like space and room in that context. I will note, and we want to be transparent about this, in the Leo cluster and in the JD Salinas recommendation, those show up as pink on this slide, meaning they may be right at or above what stated capacity is. However, there are three things we want you to know. One is we're actually going to walk all of these buildings classroom by classroom and make sure every available classroom space is being used as a classroom. We had to do the same thing with Garza and Seguin. There were rooms in those buildings that haven't seen students in a long time, even though they were designed as a classroom, and now they're functioning in that way. This doesn't take that into account yet, like making sure we're maximizing every available space. Number two is Chief Pearson and his team are constantly doing work to make sure that we've got the most up-to-date capacity numbers. And so that'll get refreshed through out to spring as well. And the third, the reality of enrollment declines that we've been seeing, we do not expect those to just change overnight into next year. This doesn't take into account that we will likely have a fewer number of students in these campuses next year than we do this year. So even though we're acknowledging that these show right or a little above capacity, we are not concerned about that. It is not going to create problems for those students. But we did want to be transparent with the math and be able to address that on the front end, because certainly families will likely ask. And then finally, to reason number three. So we've talked about academic excellence. We've talked about enrollment declines in our facility footprint, and then we get to financial sustainability and the opportunity this actually gives us as a district to reinvest dollars into our students and into our programs. So three things here in this reinvestment. Note the headline here. This frees up potentially $27+ million that can be reinvested or not have to be spent on building overhead and facility upgrade costs that now can be spent on students in programming. Row number one here is an estimation of staff savings. So as we go through these closures, there will be some overall net reduction in staffing at every level, from administrative staff to teaching staff to support staff. However, it's not one-to-one. I'll use the Benavides example here to help clarify. There will be more teachers and more staff at Fordyce next year than there is this year, because all of those Benavides students are going over there. And so we'll likely have to open some new classrooms, hire some additional teachers. So that'll be opportunity, but it won't be as many as what currently exists in Benavides plus Fordyce. So that's the net reduction overall, even though we will have to certainly add staff and FTEs at the receiving campuses. So this estimation is what that net reduction could include. The second row is what it costs to just run the building. So that's light, air, heat, plumbing, water, all of those things. We won't receive 100% of those savings, because we still have to keep the building up and running every now and then, turn the air on every few days. Like, we don't want the buildings to decay. So some of those costs will still be spent, but we will save a good chunk of that. And then the third one is really important to keep in mind. And these are our big ticket facility items. So these are things like roofing repairs, HVAC replacements, big electrical system upgrades, like big, truly big ticket things. And what it looks like for all four buildings in terms of what they need right now and the estimates we have. In Richards, for example, you can see needs over $7 million of work just on these big ticket items. That doesn't include everything that Chief Pearson would have on his list to actually get that building up to par and improve life expectancy there. So as we think about this $27 million, it's both direct budget savings, what's in the budget right now that we're spending that we can redirect, and it's also cost avoidance. It's us not having to go put that money into those buildings because we're redirecting students and that investment to other places. And so just as a recap and a reminder, before I share a few other things with you, these are the 5 recommendations that we are asking you to consider. We are not asking you to take a vote on this evening. Much like last year, we're going to spend most of the next 2 months doing a lot of engagement. I'll talk about that in a second. But we will be coming back to you in January asking you to formalize and approve these 5 recommendations. Again, keeping in mind our pursuit of academic excellence, recognition of enrollment declines, and our pursuit of financial sustainability. The other thing we want to clarify on the front end, and we'll certainly talk to parents about this, is what it means for students at these schools. And there's really 2 different types of situations that we have to keep in mind. One is a student who's transferred into one of these 5 schools. I'll use Pena as the example here. So I live in the Tabasco feeder pattern, but I transferred into Pena. As we pursue these school actions, those transfer students will be re-enrolled back in their zone campus. So if I'm really a Tabasco student because that's where I live, I'll be re-enrolled back into Tabasco for next school year. However, I can still pursue transfer opportunities in the district. So I can go through the transfer process. If I want to go to Clinton or Gonzales with my Pena friends, I can apply to do that. Or if I want to go somewhere else, and now I want to go to JFK, I'll go through the transfer process to do that, just like families always have done. What's important to note, and what we really want families to hear, is just like you've had to provide your own transportation to Pena as a transfer student, you will continue to have to provide your own transportation to any other school in the district that you decide to transfer into. Only if you're returning to your zone campus, in my example, Tabasco, would we provide district transportation on the buses. Second case will be the majority of students in these 5 schools, and that is their neighborhood school. That's where they live, and that's where they're zoned to attend. They will be reassigned to one of the schools we listed. In the cases where we have 2 school options, again, that'll be based on where they live. So in my Pena example, if I now live in what is the new zone for Clinton, that's where I'm gonna go. And if I need district transportation on the bus, we will provide that, and you can ride the bus to your new school. So just want to acknowledge that both of these situations will be at play for families given the different circumstances and transfer rates that we have. And we will work with every family through this process so that they are super clear what school they are attending next year, how to navigate the transfer process, and what that means in terms of transportation obligations. And then finally, and I'll do this just for ease of presentation, but Chief Miller is certainly here to address questions, is we want to clarify what this means for staff at all 5 of these campuses. When we did the school actions last year with the 3 elementary schools and with the early college high school consolidation, we actually pursued 2 different paths. With the early college high school consolidation, that was a true consolidation. We were taking 4 schools and programs and sort of merging them into one. We followed the 5 criteria in DFFB local as a part of that process. So went through those criteria to decide who ultimately was placed and assigned at Jimmy Carter. On the other hand, still using DFFB with Zapata, Garza, and Seguin, those were treated differently as a closure and a restart. So all of those staff were released, and then they had to reapply for opportunities in the district. That is the same process that we are planning to use in the case of these 5 school actions. All staff would be released through a reduction in force. We would go through a program change process with you over about a 3-month period following what is in DFFB local. Those staff at the 5 schools absolutely have the opportunity to apply for any available vacancy for which they qualify in the district, not just the schools receiving their students. So if I'm at JD Salinas, I'm not restricted to openings at Trevino. I can apply to any opening in the district. And there will be an internal timeline in the district where all internal candidates looking to transfer will have a chance to do that before that's open to any external candidates later in the spring. And the other thing we really want to emphasize here in terms of why that is the path we are taking, much like the why last year with the elementary schools, is when these are sort of pure closures. We are closing out that school and then students are moving into another place. It's not the same as the consolidation effort. And number two, and more importantly, it's on us to ensure that students have the highest quality educators and support staff available. So the reapplication and interview process helps us best guarantee that the folks coming into those vacancies are the best people that we can have working with students. And so that's what we are proposing and pursuing as a part of this process. You see the timeline roughly laid out there. We will ask you at the December meeting to take the first step in this process to initiate the program change. Then we will come back in January to do the second step. And then finally, if you approve this in late January, we will come back in February to finalize these non-renewals as part of the reduction in force. And then lastly, just to give you a sense of what's coming up, first is notification and clarification. All 5 principals are aware of this recommendation. We had a face-to-face in-person meeting with them earlier today. Their staff and their families are getting formal written notices about these recommendations this evening, along with the dates and times where we will have engagement opportunities at their campuses. And the communications team is releasing a press release to really let the whole community know about what we are pursuing here. Just like last year, certainly as part of one of our commitments and one of the superintendent's constraint commitments for sure, we will be out there in the community a lot, talking about this and listening to what feedback we receive and how we best navigate this process. We will also be submitting that application to the state to help with some funding related to these recommendations. We have other things in the LASSO grant as well, not just school actions, but that will be part of our application after Thanksgiving break. And then we'll be asking you over the next 3 months to take the steps necessary for the program change, part of this process. And then if this is approved, we will certainly spend the spring and summer making sure that we are ready to go, that families are clear on where their school is for the next school year, that their students are excited about that we have the highest quality staff in place, that buildings are ready, and that it's a smooth transition as we continue to pursue the academic outcomes that we are committed to as a district. Here is a list of all the dates that we will be out at each of these locations. We will be spending much of December with the 5 campuses specifically part of the school action recommendations. And then from late December into the month of January, we will also be holding community meetings at all of the campuses receiving new students, really so those families can start to understand what this is, what it means. Families from the closing schools can come visit and see that location and start to bridge into that transition. Finally, coming back to you on our meeting January 21st and asking you to approve these recommendations for school actions. And if you do approve that, we will then kick off what will be a very exciting engagement and design process for that Career Academy Middle School to really start to build out what programs and pathways will exist there. This is just a sampling of what we have prepared for communication and notices. All of this will be available on our web. We are, just like before, going to be super transparent and responsive through this process. So we will make sure our community, both at these schools and more broadly, is kept informed and engaged through the process, and we will listen deeply throughout that time. And then finally, here's just a visual representation of what the spring looks like as we go through the school action process and timeline. So with that, Board President, I'm happy to address questions.
Thank you, Dr. Little. Members of the board, do you have any questions for Dr. Little? Vice President Anita Chavez.
Thank you, Dr. Little, for the presentation. I have 2 questions. One of them is for the schools, for all 5 schools that are going to be expected to get more students, will the teachers be expected to see an increase in class sizes? And then my second question would be for the school action fund for the LASSO grant, what exactly do we need a grant for school closure? I guess because in my mind, I'm thinking we're saving money, right, from closing the school. So what exactly are we needing a grant for?
Good question. We've actually asked that question a number of ways too. So we're super clear on how we use those resources. To question number 1, this question came up a lot in the early college process last year in particular. So I'm going to give you a super concrete example. Gonzales Elementary right now may have a third grade class with 13 students in it. Our staffing ratio would go up to 22 to 25 students in a third grade setting. So will that teacher have more students in her class? Absolutely. That is part of what we are doing. So that 13 is going to go to 21, 22, 23. What isn't going to happen though is it goes to 30 or 35. So this isn't about like really busting at the seams and going above our ratios. It is making sure that as many students as possible have access to that one high quality educator, and it is a fully staffed and fully enrolled class. The other thing that will happen is there will be more students in the building. So campuses will have an adjustment, like pickup and drop off at the beginning of the year will be a bit busier because you got more people coming and going, but we're not changing our staffing ratios through this process. But that teacher who has 13 right now would have a full classroom next year as part of this process. To question number 2 about LASSO and the grant, there are 4 types of school actions that districts can pursue. Last year, we did one with Restart. That's not part of our recommendations tonight. We're pursuing 2 and 3, which is reassign and create a new school. For the reassign, the funding is really to help with the transition. So if we need funds to do community engagement, to pull families together to help prepare for the transition, if we need to have some logistical support in how we're changing transportation routes or communicate that, it's not a lot of funding, but it provides funding to really help with that transition. It's not long-term programmatic funding. For the Create New School, that is funding to help go through that planning process. So as we're engaging with the community, industry, higher education, all of those partners, it helps fund some of that work so that we end up with a real high quality set of programs and pathways for students in that location. The other thing I will note, and I think we had this footnoted on one of the slides, in the JD Salinas example where we would create the Middle School Career Academy, we will also hire a founding principal for that academy. And so we would actually hire that principal by this summer, and they would be part of the planning process all next year to be ready to reopen the school in 27, 28. And so the funding helps pay for that as well.
Thank you.
Members of the board? Yes, Ms. Ochoa?
Dr. Little, similar to the actions that we performed last year with Seguin and Garza, we have, they're under ACE now. They're an ACE campus. Would we not qualify for Peña and Benavides to be under an ACE campus as well?
Very good. That is certainly a potential. So the state releases a list each year that says these are schools that qualify for, again, all the school action types. Peña is on that list, and that is an option we could have pursued. We debated all of those possibilities. Part of where we landed is going back to those 3 reasons. Academic excellence automatically improves with the reassign to Clinton and Gonzales. This best addresses the enrollment decline because we're reducing our footprint of buildings and we're better able to modernize our facilities and invest in fewer places. If we had Peña become an ACE campus, that would not be true because we would still continue to have another school building open that we're working to staff and resource, both from an operational standpoint and an instructional standpoint. And the other thing I will say in regards to ACE, it was incredibly challenging last year to ensure that we were staffing Garza and Seguin, not only with the highest quality educators that was built into our process, but with enough of those high quality educators. There are not a whole bevy of people like just waiting to come in to our classrooms and to our schools. And so we had real concerns that we would be able to find enough staff through the ACE selection process to be able to operate a 3rd elementary school. It's not off the table forever, but we did want to recognize that challenge that we faced last year with Garza and Seguin. So the short answer is yes, that was a possibility, but as we vetted through that possibility, it was not the one that we thought was in the best interest of our students short term or the district long term.
And then with your experience in transferring a student from a lower grade to a higher grade campus, what is the turnaround time to see student outcomes improve?
Really quickly. You put students into a high quality classroom and you can see that change literally sometimes overnight. Teacher who has good structures, good routines, high expectations, a lot of love for students, like that change is felt immediately by the student. You do that day after day, week after week, early in the school year, and things certainly start to move. So that is part of the premise behind this recommendation, is there's lots of evidence to show that that has a immediate and lasting benefit to students. It is also part of why we're pursuing the program change in the way we are, to ensure that the additional educators coming in are the best ones possible, because that's what the students really need.
Did the principals indicate any concerns in discussions today?
Principals are certainly grappling with this in the same way that their staff will, and that is heavy, and we empathize and recognize that. You've heard Chief Miller say a number of times, we take any staffing implication decision really seriously, and that certainly impacts, the concern and worry and anxiety that people start to have about what comes next. Our principals will go through that as well. That said, in the conversation I had directly with principals this afternoon, is we still have 21 weeks of school. I'm intentionally pausing there. Like, they got to show up every day, and they still have to lead their campus. Teachers still have to provide the best instruction to students. Staff still has to show up ready to support and do all the things that are necessary to generate outcomes. Our expectation for these 5 campuses is not changing because of these school actions. They still have to improve. None of these 5 schools should be a D-rated campus at the end of this school year. That's on us to continue to provide that support. That's on our teams to respond to staff questions and walk them through this process and be really supportive and understanding and compassionate through that process. But it's also on us to ensure that students still get great opportunities every day. And I would also add, and we have direct example last year, as we think about Zapata and Garza Elementary School last school year, again, in the same position, their school is closing. All of those staff are figuring out, am I going to have a job here next year, and where is it going to be? Those are 2 of 7 schools in the district that showed improvement in our accountability outcomes. Those 2 principals, one is still with us in the district, made a decision that they're still going to lead their campus through this. They're going to support their people, and they're going to have moments and days that are hard, but at the end of the day, they are committed to their students and doing what is right. That is the expectation I have of all 5 of these principals and the teachers and staff in these buildings. And we have an example just 4 months ago of where it is possible.
Thank you, Dr. Little.
Great questions. Any other questions?
Yes, Dr. Little, sorry.
Let me go ahead and go, Ms. Peña, go ahead.
Through the consolidation of the early colleges, was there any lessons learned that we're looking to apply as we go through these school actions?
We learned a lot of lessons last year. Again, this is the way this just came to my mind. This is a humbling experience and process. We are changing things for families. We're changing things for our staff families. We're certainly changing things for our student families. And that is a heavy responsibility. We do that in pursuit of the reasons that I laid out here. But it's still something that we, again, take very seriously and acknowledge. And so part of the humbling process is we learned a lot through the process, particularly through the engagement process. I shared with you last January, when we finalized those recommendations, that our first community engagement sessions didn't go so well. And that was really on how we set that up and how we approached that and how we showed up to listen to our community. So we made those adjustments last year. That ended up working out quite well. And so we're building that into the engagement process already this year, from having materials available in both English and Spanish, to how we're going to handle translation, to how we're setting up norms at the beginning of the meeting. All of those things, which may seem small, really matter. And they show consideration to our community and to our families. The other thing in terms of the program change in particular, last year with the early college, again, that was a unique, true consolidation. And so that process made sense and was the right way to go. We also learned that it doesn't apply in every context. And so that's part of why we're making the recommendation here, with the program change being a full release and sort of reduction in force, because that, one, is streamline communication and understanding on behalf of the staff. They're not confused as to where I am and what criteria I fall in. That just simplifies it for them. it also makes the process much clearer and much cleaner on our side as well, so we can support people through that. So those are just some of the examples that we built in already on the front end as we pursue this round of school actions.
Awesome, thank you. And then I do have another question. In terms of parents or staff that has concerns, is there, aside from the town hall, going to be an area for them to kind of voice that?
Yeah, so we will have the face-to-face opportunities. We will have digital feedback opportunities. So we'll have like a way that we're capturing feedback through an online form. And then certainly folks can reach out to our human capital team or to me and my team if they've got very specific, like individualized questions.
Thank you.
Dr. Margot, I know you had a question.
Yes, Dr. Little, I know you referenced decline in enrollment and how this would address that, but how exactly is the closure of or reducing the number of schools directly affect the decline in enrollment? I know you talked about it, but if you don't mind talking a little bit more about, is it that we're losing students because of poor ratings of the campuses or facilities?
I think there's three parts that I'm hearing from you, Dr. Margot, and I'll try to tease all these out. So first is like, why is enrollment going down? There's always a number of reasons for that, but I'll share a few with you. And again, they are not unique to La Jolla ISD. These are things that districts across the country are grappling with. One is perception on public education in general, like families are opting into whether that's charter schools, independent schools, or homeschooling. That is a trend that we've seen increase nationally in this period of, the same decade period we're talking about. Number two is changing demographics. We're actually going to get updated demographic information for our district later in 2026, but people are having fewer babies, just to be frank. So there's fewer students out there to come into public education. And then the third is always more local, which is decisions that drive where people go. So am I transferring to a nearby district, or am I moving to a different place in the state? That's part of this as well. There is, and this still truly baffles me, and I think it does other people, people disappeared in COVID. Like kids literally disappeared. You had students in schools in 2019 and they were not there in 2021. And like, you don't know where they went, but that again, true all across the country. And so that's a factor as well. To the second part of your question that I'm hearing is, does closing schools automatically change that? The answer, of course, is no. What it does is it helps the district be best positioned to serve the students that it does have. So you saw those budget numbers, whether it's staffing or maintenance and operation or deferred maintenance and facility costs. That's all money we have to spend for every building that we're running. And when we do school closures, that helps us redirect those funds into places so we can be more efficient with staffing. We can be more efficient with operation costs. And at the end of the day, we can be more effective in our academic program and our outcomes. So it's not going to change enrollment. That's not the strategy lever that we're pulling here, but it is going to adjust and respond to the enrollment changes. Now, the third piece I would say is, as we continue to improve as a district, as we get to that North Star, where 90% of your likelihood is attending an A or B campus, that's our story to tell to the community to earn that trust back. So we are earning students back in the district and increasing enrollment over time.
Thank you.
Do we have any other further questions? Yes,
Dr. Little, on slide 49, you document here creating a middle school careers. I believe that's academy. Yes, academy. Can you define what that looks like?
Sort of. And the reason I say sort of is because part of this is to be determined by design. Like, we've got to engage with our community and parents and students. We've got to engage with workforce partners in industry to finalize what that design looks like. So I'll give you a broad concept. We got career and technical education pathways in our high school. There are 13 of them where students can choose everything from welding to cosmetology to business and lots of things in between. Part of what this career academy at the middle school will do is it will expose students to those opportunities at a much younger age, when they have the chance and the time in middle school to explore different things. So by the time they get to high school and they're choosing a career pathway, they're actually choosing one that they really know what that entails. Here's what the work is. Here's what the academic requirements are. Here's what the job opportunities look like. Here's the type of life I can have if I pursue that type of career. So I make that high school choice. I'm actually fully committed to it, and I'm better prepared to complete it. Part of what this is solving for multiple years in advance is students who come to our high school career pathway programs. They don't really know what it is. They take the class, they start it, they don't like it, and they don't end up finishing. That's not helpful to the student. That's not helpful to their outcomes. That's not helpful to us as a district as we're thinking about what pathways to offer. So that middle school space really provides the exposure opportunity as well as building the preparation and prerequisite knowledge and skills so students are more ready in high school and then can like fly and thrive by the time they graduate and enter the workforce. But the sort of part is which pathways? We don't know because that's part of what we got to build together.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Before I proceed, just let the record state that Dr. Hernandez has joined us at 7:15 p.m. I have a couple of statements or comments. So most of the questions that I had prepared for your presentation were asked by the board members, and I appreciate that. I also appreciate that SB Pearson Chief will be working. It came at a time when you just did a presentation recently on how we were going to reroute, how we were going to do some cost savings. So as I referenced during our meetings with the superintendent earlier in the week, I appreciate that it's coming out at the same time. So thank you for that. I also was concerned of the decline, but I was looking at your slides. Slide 47 shows, 200 and something students at Leo Elementary, and then slide 50 shows like 335. And I'm assuming that the 335 includes the fifth graders because they weren't the same number at the same school. But then I started averaging the number of students that were per class, and I thought, wow, we have probably classes that only have 12 students or less. And so I could see why we would be doing this, and so it makes perfect sense. And then after reading what's happening around, not just in the Rio Grande Valley, but around the country, schools are closing for the same reason. I mean, enrollments are declining. People are being homeschooled. You referenced earlier about less babies. And we do have a population of individuals that live in this community that travel to other parts of the valley to work. And so we could see that. And so I appreciate the presentation that you provided with us or that you shared with us because it was very helpful. I'm also curious when I saw that you had the press release and also the literature that was going to go out on that page 57. I'm assuming it's also going to be in Spanish, right? So it'll be in Spanish. I couldn't see it there, but I'm assuming it'll be in Spanish and English. So
That's right.
good. And so again, I think we're well prepared. I saw the timeline. That was a question I was going to ask. I saw that the dates, you had everything in line up till January 21st, that we would be making a decision. So I appreciate that. Dr. Sorensen, do you have anything that you'd like to say?
Yes, thank you, Board President. I think Dr. Little covered all the facts, right? And so I will leave the facts to his presentation. But as the superintendent, I never take any of these decisions lightly. They are challenging decisions. They are decisions that change a district that we just celebrated 100 years of. And so you have to acknowledge the history, the tradition, the legacy, and the deep roots that exist in a district like ours. And so that's one side of every single one of these decisions that we make, to acknowledge the very people that make this district special and different than any place I've ever been. But then as a superintendent, I also have to acknowledge the fact that we've lost a quarter of our student population in a decade. And that is not fiscally wise to continue to operate in the exact same way, knowing that prices to run a district, to fund a district, to pay salaries have all increased. To run programs, to buy instruments, to buy buses, to fix roofs, to buy a scoreboard. All of the things that the district throughout strategic planning told me they wanted. And so I, as a superintendent, have to weigh both. And none of that is easy. Again, there are livelihoods behind this, there's history behind this, there's tradition behind this, there are names of buildings behind this. And my first responsibility is to make sure that we provide academic and programmatic excellence for children. I cannot do that in a building where there are 200 plus children that has the capacity for 900. Especially when I'm also being required, as I should be, to actually reinvest in the district in a way that the community asked me to, in programming, in facilities, in salaries, and I could keep going, but I won't. And so these are really hard decisions. I will say this, and I am positive that, the district community may not say this publicly, but when I was doing strategic planning engagement last year, there wasn't a place and space where people didn't ignore, because I started talking about this actually last year, very transparently. We just didn't know which schools or what decisions we were going to make, but talking about closing schools was something I did publicly. And everyone in the district, when I would have these conversations, would say, we know. We know. We've known for a long time. We know that these decisions have to be made. Just don't close my school, right? And so that's the thing, right? Everybody knows it needs to be done. Everybody knows that enrollment is declining. Everybody knows that to run schools is incredibly costly. They also know all the things that they want, but don't close my school. And so those are the decisions that I'm charged with recommending to the board. And so I want the community to know that we will continue to be transparent. We will continue to be honest. We will continue to be your shoulder partners. We will make sure that the very best educators remain in this district and remain in classrooms with our students. And that, again, we don't take any of this lightly. And we have to make the hard decisions that move our district forward. And so I thank you for the opportunity to address the community and the board president.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Do we have any further questions? Okay, thank you, Dr. Little. I know you're going to remain there and you'll be teaming up with Ms. Crespo on this particular agenda item. Next one will be agenda item 8.3, Campus Improvement Plan and District Improvement Plan. Ms. Crespo?
Yes, sir. Good evening again. We are here presenting to you today the Campus Improvement Plan, District Improvement Plans for the 25-26 school year. We will cover different improvement plans today. I will take care of the first group, district and campus improvement plans, and Dr. Little will work on the turnaround plan, targeted improvement plans, and local improvement plans. Of course, everything, as we have been discussing today, is pursuing our mission, vision, goals, and North Star goal. Focusing, centering, we are not deviating from what we want to achieve with our students' excellence. For the District Improvement Plan and Campus Improvement Plan, these are legal requirements from the Texas Education Code, where we have to develop, review, and revise improvement plans annually. The District Improvement Plan and the Campus Improvement Plan are going to help us to have blueprints for developing what we are using, strategies that we are using across the district for improving our students' performance. The intent is, of course, show with the community and show our students and teachers, all the stakeholders, that we are aligning our goals, our resources, our strategies, and actions through our best academic standards from the state, and also aligning them with our strategic plan. We have provide a data framework and decision-making, a framework that help us to keep accountability and monitor the progress of the schools through the year. Also, it helps us to promote equity and access and addressing all the needs on all student populations, special programs, EB students, emerging bilinguals, and students receiving special education services. We have been working very hard to do continuous improvement or development of our district improvement plan or campus improvement plan. We have worked very hard on aligning our managed instruction theory of action to ensure coherence, alignment, and quality across the whole district. We did a development process that took several months to help our campuses to do need assessments, training our leaders to understand how to look for root causes, understand the district parameters and expectations, and finalize campus-specific plans that answer the needs of their specific students. Through all this time, with the training and support, we have an amazing platform that we use for the campuses so we can unify the process. We also work through managed instruction, defining goals, strategies, performance objectives based on the district strategic plan, ensuring that all of our campuses are responding and aligned to those goals. We establish type parameters around what could be customized, and I will show you later an example of how we did that. So the campuses have their own activities and strategies that respond to their own students, still responding to the district goals and their expectations. And we did clear trainings and parameters to ensure quality control. We work very tight, my office, with the grants office and the leadership area with Dr. Little staff to ensure that the parameters and expectations were clear, not just for the principals and the staff developing the campus, but also for our supervisors to ensure that when we were monitoring and checking for quality, we all were in the same page and ensuring that the campuses were responding to what the alignment and clarity that we were expecting. And we are doing checkpoints to review through the year to ensure that we are monitoring and keeping accountability through the process. Every campus improvement plan includes 13 performance objectives and 33 strategies around our goals. These strategies are designed, aligned to our 5 strategic priorities, keeping the goals clear and explicit alignment with our priorities with excellence in leadership, empower graduates, thriving students, community trust, unity and partnership, and operational excellence and financial stability. I repeat it so we can learn them because sometimes we forget which ones they are. So this structure is helping us to establish a cohesive approach. Is intent to help our campuses to ensure that every strategy that they're implementing is really responding to the district goals and that we are all working towards the same and in the same direction. These are a couple of examples of the performance objectives. We establish performance objectives based on grade level. So we have some for elementary school, some for middle school, some for high school, all aligned to our LSG goals and GPMs, but assigned to based on the grade levels that the students are. So the first example you have in there is for elementary school. These examples are for elementary schools in this case. The performance objective 2.1 that is around meets on reading, and the performance objective 2.2 that is around meets on math. And as you see, the strategies that are in there are clear and explicit, aligned to what we expect our campuses to perform. Campuses then have the responsibility to assign actions and budget that is going to support the implementation of these strategies across the campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Crespo. Board, part of what you're seeing as you think about all 3 of these presentations is a look to the future and our budget priorities, actions we need to take to shore up our academic work and sort of financial stability and modernization of our facilities, and now what we're doing actually this year to continue to pursue improvement. So all campuses have an improvement plan like Chief Crespo just laid out. What I want to talk about are specific school plans that we are putting together, partly due to the requirements given our accountability ratings at these locations. It is acronym salad for sure, but just a little bit of context here. TAPS, TIPS, and LIPS are all different types of improvement plans that add on to the base campus improvement plan that you just heard about. We're going to give you a little context on these. So a TAP is a turnaround plan. The state requires those for campuses that had multiple years of unacceptable ratings. This is the most aggressive type of turnaround plan that we have to work with campuses on and submit to the state. The TIP is a targeted improvement plan. It's like the middle layer here. Hey, we've got to see some change and some improvement, but it's not yet to the level where you've got multiple consecutive unacceptable ratings. And then the LIP is the local improvement plan. And that's something a little bit beyond what the campus improvement plan is, but again, not as extensive as the targeted improvement or turnaround plans are. And that really just rests locally with us to monitor and work on with our campuses. You are asked and required to ultimately approve the turnaround plan and the targeted improvement plan. So the TAPs and the TIPs do require board approval before we submit those to the state. I also want to recognize and appreciate Ms. Ortiz, one of our executive directors in the team, who has really taken on this effort to lead for our district and work with these campuses, supported by all of the rest of the team, but sort of as the chief sort of owner of getting all of these put together and ready and working through all the feedback we received from Region 1 to ensure that these are ready to submit. So thank you, Ms. Ortiz, for that. A little bit of context here. So how do campuses get chosen for a TAP, TIP, or a LIP? And that really is based on their data and their accountability ratings. So the state is looking across schools all across Texas and saying, you've shown consecutive years of decline or consecutive years of underperformance, or you're showing real jaggedness in your performance, and we're a bit concerned about this. And so they identify schools for one of these plans. Also in the federal plan that every state submits, they have to lay out criteria for this. That's part of what guides it as well. These elementary schools have all been identified for some type of these plans. You see, and this starts to make conceptual sense, our three constraint schools here, Pena, Garza, and Seguin, are certainly one of them. And so they have to pursue one of these types of plans as well. But the other thing I will note here, just in terms of the graph, these are overall accountability ratings for the schools. And you see the blue bars is our most recent data from last school year. And in all but one case, those are consistently lower than where they were even the year before, 2 years before. So that's why these campuses get extra attention in these plans. Middle schools, we have 4 that are working on this. Again, you see signs as the constraint school on here. So that gives you a sense of how these are chosen. And again, we see lower results across the board here as part of the trigger for these plans. So quickly, we'll walk through a few specific things. So Garza is the only campus that's actually required to do a full turnaround plan. Even though both Garza and Seguin are our ACE schools, Seguin, from an accountability standpoint and TEA perspective, isn't treated quite the same way as Garza. So Seguin has the middle tier plan here, where Garza has the full turnaround plan because it has multiple years of F ratings and Seguin did not. The other thing I'll note here is we do have to submit this to TEA for approval as well. So officially that's commissioner's approval. There's a team at TEA that we'll work with to review these and finalize those to ensure that they are approved. And that is a multi-year plan. It's not just for this year, but it will extend into next year as well. The targeted improvement plans, or the TIPs, this is more of our campuses. We got 3 at the three at the elementary level, 4 at the secondary level. The column to the right is just giving you and the community information on how they were designated for that type of improvement plan. And the reason can be a bit different. Seguin and Paredes, for example, have a federal designation, again, due to what Texas submits to the federal government as part of its accountability system. That's where those come in. Pena is a bit different. It's got 3 years as D rating, so that becomes an unacceptable identifier even at the state level. The other thing to note, I didn't say this actually in the last presentation, is when you get a string of Ds in a row, the state actually turns those into an F. And that becomes part of the permanent count of F ratings, which can trigger other things from Texas in terms of actions with school districts. And then at the secondary level, those like the first two elementary ones, they're triggered because of the federal identification with accountability ratings overall. And then the local improvement plans, we've got 5 overall, 3 different reasons here. So 3 schools, Chapalillo and Cavazos, earned a D rating, so they have a 1-year improvement plan. Mendiola, again, recognized federally. This is a lower level of federal recognition than what you saw in the tips, but still nonetheless. And similar for Benavidez as well, but again, a different type of federal recognition. All of that, again, is the acronym SALAD. Bottom line here is these schools have additional focus on the improvement that they are pursuing this school year. Garza, again, goes into next school year. There are additional requirements for our monitoring and reporting for these campuses to the state. We are also providing support to these schools. It's not just, hey, you're going to create a plan and that makes you get better. It's what you're doing through that plan that really helps you improve. We have talked about and appreciate your support, obviously for ACE at Garza and Seguin, but also the district management group support that we brought in this year to the 4 superintendent constraint schools. That is underway and ongoing right now. And then all of what we talked about in every other report we did, you approved, again, $1.7 million more in support for teachers in classrooms, in PLCs with their curriculum. That certainly applies to these schools. And in fact, as we tier them, these schools generally get more of that support than do others in the campus because of the needs that we're seeing and the turnaround required at these campuses. So all of that said, we are asking for your approval of our overall district improvement plan, again, directly aligned to our vision, mission, North Star goals, strategic plan, goals and GPMs, the campus improvement plan, which applies to every campus of the district, and then these specific additional improvement plans for turnaround, targeted improvement, and local improvement for the campuses that have been identified. And then Chief Crestman and I are happy to take questions.
Members of the board, do you have any questions? Ms. Ochoa?
I do. Dr. Little, these plans that you're recommending for approval, how does that relate to the previous school action plan, and do they overlap?
Its timeline is really the key here. So all of these improvement plans really focus on the work that we're doing this school year to improve outcomes right now. The school action recommendations that we just made, those would start next school year. So Pena, for example, one of the schools in the tip list here, that really helps us make sure that that school finishes strong in the best way it can, setting those students up for long-term success. The closure and the reassignment starts next school year.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Dr. Little, you said this was a action item, is it, for tonight?
It is. I believe it's in the consent agenda, but yes, it is
Okay.
for you to vote for.
Okay. Dr. Sorensen, do you have anything you'd like to add?
The only thing I would want to add is just the coherence. I think I want the board and the community to hear that while this is an acronym salad, we worked very hard, and again, thank you, Ms. Ortiz and the rest of the team, to make sure that the plans that our campuses created were coherent. We did not ask for the TAP to look different than the campus improvement plan. Now, again, a TAP asks for more information, and there is more monitoring, and there is more regulation from the state. But we want them rowing in one direction, not one plan addresses one thing and one another. I mean, we want our principals to be focused on the very things that we laid out in our theory of action around managed instruction. The implementation of high-quality instructional materials, the improvement of instruction in the classroom, to make sure that we are doing coaching and professional development for our teachers, right? Like those foundational items that we laid out in our theory of action. How are we supporting our teachers to deliver high-quality instruction every single day? What does Tier 2 look like? What does Tier 3 look like, right? How are we talking about special education and emergent bilinguals? And so we've got to, I really want the board and the community to understand that although this is acronym salad, we were very clear with our principals and worked very hard with them to make sure that they didn't feel pulled in multiple directions, feeling like they had to serve multiple, spaces and places in order to accomplish the goal. The goals are the same in every plan, right? Not the same for every school, but they're working towards board goals. They're working towards their individual school improvement goals, right? And this is where we talked about, like, one campus may have to improve more than the other. That goal remained the same per plan. So they're not shooting for different things in different plans. And so I just wanted to make that part clear, so that, again, you understand that we are supporting our principals with coherent and, like, very longitudinal professional learning around how to get there under our theory of managed instruction.
I have a question if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
So I like how we're standardizing the assessments and adjusting per school. Now, does this also match the employee assessment or performance? Does it all tie together?
Absolutely. So that's a component of it, right? Every teacher across the district is evaluated according to T-tests, right? And so one of the things, again, that we're looking at is, like, how does teacher performance directly relate to student outcomes, right? As our principals are setting goals, they're setting goals by classroom, by student. And so when we're giving them their data, they're able, throughout this entire process, to actually then intervene and coach and support teachers based upon, say, their unit assessments, based upon MAP. Because again, not only do we want to see our teachers grow, but that has a direct correlation to student outcomes.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Members of the board, do we have any further questions for Dr. Little, Ms. Crespo? Seeing that we have none, thank you very much. Thank you to both of you. Next item on the agenda is our Lone Star Governance, item number 9.1, Lone Star Governance Time Tracker Report. This will be done by Joseph. Joseph?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Board President, members of the board, Dr. Sorensen. Happy to bring you our Lone Star Governance Time Use Tracker Report for our November 5th meeting. So we always start off with, why are we doing this? We're doing this because of our continuous improvement model, Lone Star Governance, that we're engaging with to focus intensely and unapologetically on one primary objective, and that is improving student outcomes. So our November 5th meeting was historically brief, coming in at 51 minutes. And of that time, we spent 36 minutes on student outcomes, and then another 10 minutes on adult outcomes. So bringing our totals, our percentage of time on student outcomes to 70, we'll round up, 71% of our meeting time. So certainly super efficient use on the thing of time on the things that we need to be doing as a school district and a school board. I'll also take a moment here to point us at a couple other metrics that we haven't typically raised up, and that is to the far right, lower right of the tracker. You can see where it says goal progress measures and whether or not we've hit target. And so at our last board meeting, Dr. Little had shared that we had GPMs that of 3 GPMs, 2 were on target. So just highlighting that piece of the tracker that typically we haven't in the past. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Members of the board, any questions for Joseph?
No.
Hey, Joseph, I'm curious.
Yes, sir.
Do you have an average of where we're at to the 11th month? Like, would you happen to have that? Or is that
Dr.
what you do?
Blair will have that in her next presentation.
That's pretty cool. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
Like, do we have something that would be like in the 90s? No, I'm just kidding. Just to show us where we're at for the year.
Yes.
You'll have that for us? Okay. Okay, seeing that we don't have any further questions in particular in this agenda item, thank you, Joseph. I appreciate the good news. Next item on the agenda will be done by our conservator, Dr. Barrera. 9.2, board self-assessment using the LSG integrity instrument.
Good evening, President Alvarez, Dr. Sorensen, and members of the board. This evening, we are going to begin our, I think this is the 4th or the 5th quarter that we do our evaluation for the board. And as we've been discussing the entire length of this board meeting, we are talking about progress, tracking progress, right? making sure that we're seeing student outcomes improve. Past meetings, we've talked about teacher progress, right? And so I want to mention to the community that the board is also tracking their progress by doing this evaluation quarterly. And so this is based on the 5 pillars of the Texas Framework for School Board Development. It's based on these 5 areas: vision and goals, progress and accountability, systems and processes, synergy and teamwork, and advocacy and engagement. So this is a rating scale. We start at the do not meet focus level, preparing to focus, approaches, meets, and masters. So if you'll look at your implementation integrity instrument, we're starting with the first one, vision and goals. And 3 quarters ago, we scored a 12. 2 quarters ago, we still stayed at 12. And 1 quarter ago, we still stayed at 12. So I ask you, board, looking at, I want you to look at the approaches and then the meets focus. Sometimes you could fall behind. I don't think that's the case here, but if you meet all of these, then look at the masters and see if we qualify. Does anyone have a recommendation?
I think we're still at meets
12.
focus.
I would agree that we're still at a 12. Is there anybody that disagrees with that? Okay, so we're at a meets focus. That's still good. In order to meet exit criteria, you have to be at meets focus at least in all those areas.
Okay.
Let's go to vision and goals 2. The board has adopted goal progress measures aligned to each student outcome goal. Again, you've been at 12 the last 2 quarters. The quarter before that, you were at a 1, so we've made progress.
12.
Does anyone dispute the 12? I concur with the 12. I think that we're still at a 12. Okay? Let's go to vision and goals 3. Again, 3 quarters ago, we were at a 0, then 9 and a 9. The board has adopted constraints. So the question here is, are we still a 9 or can we make it to the master's level?
Still a 9.
Why are we still a 9?
Community ownership of the constraints.
Community ownership. And we still have time to do that. I think we've been making fantastic progress. And so I'm comfortable with that 9 and we're at meets focus. So let's stay with that 9. Moving on to vision and goals 4, the board has adopted superintendent constraint progress measures. We had been a 0 because we had not adopted the CPMs. We've since done that. What's keeping us from the 5? What's keeping us from masters?
Community ownership.
It's that broad community ownership. And again, that's when the board as a whole is educating the community about the constraints, about the goals, goal progress measures. This is the work that you need to do with the community, not necessarily the superintendent.
Dr. Barrera, when you state here all board members, does it have to be all board or the majority?
It says all.
So it's got to be all in order for us to advance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Good question.
And Dr. Barrera, can I also ask a clarifying question too?
Sure.
Is that I also want to point out that it says through involvement and communication with students, staff, and community members. It doesn't necessarily mean that like we've got 100% of the community just.
Correct.
I just
Oh,
want
correct.
Well, no,
Not
I
100%
want
of
to
the community.
Right. I just want to clarify. 'Cause,
Right.
You know, again, I'll work really hard to get 100%, but
Dr. Sorensen, you're doing a fabulous job of
No.
doing that.
yes, and I can always do better. Yes, and I can still do more and will do more. But I just, again, I want to, just know what the bar is.
I appreciate that. very much.
Yeah, just again, the remark of all five, I mean, all of us to be in agreement, it just seems like you would think it'd be the majority, right? But I can understand that.
Yes.
Because again, I'm just looking at my good friend Blanca over there, and, through involvement, communication, right, like.
Right.
Like,
Right.
we're doing that.
Absolutely. And President Alvarez, the all board members that agreed, you voted on this,
Yeah.
so you did all agree to
Uh-huh.
this. We have the record.
No,
So
I
you-
agree with that. I agree with, I'm just saying that, yeah, okay. Never mind.
I hear what you're saying. It matters more in subsequent sections. Let's go on to progress and accountability 1. So last time we were able to go to a meets focus. We had been at a 0. It does not meet focus for the past 3 quarters before last time. So we're at a 12 now. So we're at a meets focus last time. Can we be a master's focus?
How many in a row
we've
does it
met
have
it.
to be?
For the quarter, right? It has to be for the quarter, for the
Uh-huh.
entire quarter?
Does anybody have any idea? Do you think we've made it to
Yeah.
50%?
I think we're closer, definitely.
I think we.
We
Have
actually,
we met it?
we actually have.
Yeah.
Y'all are at masters. The average is 65%.
Hey,
So congratulations.
Did it.
We've made it to masters on that one.
average.
And board members, it's going to fluctuate. Today, we did not discuss student outcome data, so we're probably not going to have a good score for the next time, but it goes on the average. So we're comfortable that with our board monitoring calendar, we have plenty of data to share in subsequent meetings.
Diana, you said 65%.
Yes,
Dr. Barrera, we
Yes.
just want to tell you in advance that we're going to debate you on that, because we feel like we did talk about student outcome data today, but that we can have that discussion later.
it has to be on the goals and GPMs specifically.
There was a complete.
Trust me, I do this with the
referencing it.
state all the
Multiple
time.
slides
Right, so
referencing
like
it.
discussion and discourse are always welcome.
Just like you all have coaches, I have a coach.
Because
And
think
I do
you
this
saw
with her
Dr.
too.
Little shrink down in his chair. Like,
Shame on you, Dr. Little.
No, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and it's completely understandable. Let's move on to progress and accountability 2. So we have been at the does not meet focus. Where are we today? The board evaluates but does not interfere with progress toward improving student outcomes. Have we moved to preparing to focus?
Yes.
Can we say yes?
Yes.
Let's go to approaches. Do we meet all of those?
Yes?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we meet meets focus? Are we at meets focus?
I think so.
Well, this is a question for Dr. Sorensen. Are we using the staff use tracker, and have we shared that with the board? When was the last time we shared that? Do you have any?
during our summer workshop.
Oh, during the summer workshop. Okay, so then we are at meets focus.
Yes.
Are we at masters?
I don't think so.
This one's a really tough one. The ask here for masters is that the superintendent evaluation be based only on student achievement outcomes. This is very difficult to achieve, but I'm very pleased to say that we are now at a meets focus.
4. Perfect.
Awesome. Congratulations, guys. Let's move on to systems and processes. We've been a 4 at approaches. Does anyone think that we can go to meets?
No public
No.
meetings.
Right. We're exceeding the 3 hours. We're getting a lot better though. So I want to congratulate you on that. And we're getting better with the agendas and having less on the other agenda. But we have a little bit more work to do there, and that's okay. We're at a 4. which is approaches. Any questions on that one?
No.
No.
Okay. Let's move to advocacy and engagement. The board promotes the vision.
I think we're certainly not a
community
one.
meeting.
I think we're 3 at least.
We haven't hosted community, we hosted.
I think we're at
community meetings?
approaches.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
We do the second
I
board?
know.
No.
I know.
Yeah, the
But no,
board,
we're
you're
still
right.
one.
Oh, because we have
Still
some
one.
Yeah, because the board hasn't.
We're a one.
What's the discussion?
We're one because
Mr. Gomez?
we haven't hosted the community meetings to discuss progress towards student outcomes.
Right,
The
right.
district has, but not the board.
At the board.
Correct.
correct.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We've made a lot of progress already, so we're still at preparing to focus. Perfect. And the last one is synergy and teamwork. The board works collaboratively and with the superintendent to lead toward the vision.
Diana, I'm still reading the last one, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Reading the preparing to focus. The
We
board
are-
has a two-way communication system with staff and community members. We haven't done that,
Correct.
so does not meet focus.
No, listen for and discuss the vision and values of their staff and community members. We've,
With Health Health. Yeah.
board, if you can share in the microphone so we can hear the discussion?
Yeah, we were talking about the two-way communication
Mhm.
system that are the town halls that we had. Can I check that box?
Oh, that's right. So we're at a do not, right?
No, we're saying that the town hall sessions did serve that purpose.
There's like.
You're talking about advocacy and engagement.
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Go back one slide.
She said last one we were at 0.
So we're a 1, right?
That's what.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with the one
Yeah.
because you guys have been coming to some of those community meetings.
Okay, but
And-
so because we have been going, board members have been going,
Yes.
not that it's,
So
you know.
this one's not set to where it's like all board members need to
Right.
be there.
You
It's
see
as
how,
long
do you
as.
see how that can be
We're-
confusing?
we're
Some of them
present.
say,
The next one is that you're hosting it.
The next one says the board
Has,
has
yeah.
provided time, the board has
Right.
hosted.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's because some say all and some say just as long as we've
Right.
done it.
So are we good with the one?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Hernandez. Appreciate the clarification and the discussion. The last one, synergy and teamwork. The board works collaboratively and with the superintendent to lead toward the vision.
I say we're a 9, but that's just me.
If you look at the third
Some people
bullet
have-
under meets focus,
Oh, so you're gonna have everybody that's watching? Thank you.
The trainings, right?
it's the training.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think we're at a 9.
3.
But it didn't say
We're at a
all.
3. And,
It didn't
and
say
yes,
all.
Mr. Alvarez, that one is all, that means every single one of you. Every
Every
member.
member.
All, yeah, completed all.
Mari, get me on those trainings.
So it's, so 3?
Wake up, Mari.
Okay, what's the total?
All right.
Oh, we said it was a
Yes.
3.
So what's our total? Tell him, I'm gonna take care of it, Mommy. I got it.
I know. My fault.
65,
Good,
I think.
good.
Very quickly did the
We've
math.
made progress.
So I want to call your attention to our scores that we have received. Oh, I didn't put them here. So 3 quarters ago, we started with a 20. And before that, the quarter before that, I think we were at a 4. Then the next quarter, we moved up to a 41. The following quarter, you guys scored a 57 on your board evaluation. This quarter, you're at a 65. This is slow and steady. This is great progress. I'm very pleased with it. Board members, do any of you have any comments about the evaluation or your progress?
Before I open it up for any questions from the board, I just want to tell you that we always enjoy doing this exercise with you, Diana, so thank you for that, Dr. Barrera.
I did this with another board recently, and they went down 15 points, and they were just, they couldn't believe it. And I said, progress isn't linear.
Yeah.
Sometimes we fall, sometimes we dip. That just means, and that's what this is for. I said, that's what this instrument is for, to let us know when we need to work in an area, and it lets us know what specific things we need to work on. So I'm very pleased with your progress, board.
Thank you very much. Anyone?
Yeah, I'm glad we made progress. I'd still like to contest that. I think we're a little bit higher based on the measures, but you can provide us more examples on how to improve.
I appreciate that. And again, as I mentioned, I argue with my coach quite often about these because there are some things that could be left to interpretation. So.
Thank you very much,
saying.
Dr. Barrera. Enjoy your trip back, and thank you again for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, next item on the agenda is our consent agenda item. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, next agenda item is agenda item number 11. Closed meeting will be held for the purposes authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Sections 551.001, 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, 551.129, and 551.0821 concerning and all purposes permitted by the act, including but not limited to the actions and purposes listed below. We are now going into closed session, and it is 8:06 PM. Okay, we are back from closed session and it is 8:54 PM. Before we proceed with agenda item number 13, I'm going to ask Blanca to make your way to the podium. I know she's got something she'd like to share with everyone in the community.
Good evening, Board President, board members, and Superintendent. At this time, this week, La Jolla had a very tragic moment, and we did lose one of our students from Palmview High School. So we want to keep Palmview High School community and family of Gilbert Govea, senior student at Palmview High School, in our thoughts. And so I would like to do a moment of silence for our student. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. Our next item on the agenda is number 13, action and discussion items, approval of English language development platform for emergent bilingual students, quotation through purchasing cooperatives. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve 13.1.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item is 13.2, approval of solid waste services, CSP number 2025-19, extension. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve number 13.2.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item is 13.3, approval of Lone Star Governance Board self-assessment using the LSG integrity instrument. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve item 13.3.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item is 13.4, consider and take possible action to propose the termination of Chapter 21 term contract employees and authorize the superintendent to send notice of proposed termination to employees. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve item 13.4.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is 13.5, consider and take possible action to terminate a Chapter 21 term contract employee. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve item 13.5.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is our calendar. November 17th through the 21st, American Education Week. November 20th, Educational Support Professionals Day. November 21st, 2025, National Parental Involvement Day. November 22nd, Substitute Educator Day. November 24th through the 28th, Thanksgiving break. Central administration will be closed and there will be no classes. December 2nd, National Special Education Day. December 3rd, special called board meeting. This will be our student recognition at the Alejandro Alex Science Performing Arts Center at 6 p.m. December 4th will be our 5th annual tree lighting ceremony at Nellie Schooner Central Administration Building at 6 p.m. Before we adjourn, do I have any comments from the superintendent or any board members? Dr. Sorensen?
Thank you, Board President. And Blanca, thank you very much for lifting up our student, our Palmview community. It is never easy as a superintendent to watch our community grieve. We are here for our students, we are here for the Palmview community, and we are here for the family in every way that we can possibly be. And losing a student, losing a son is tragic. And so I want to acknowledge that as a superintendent and as a mom. And with that also being said, it leans into Thanksgiving break. And those are the moments where you just take a step back and realize what you have to be grateful for and thankful for. And so both of those things one after the other. I'm just really grateful to be here in this community. And I'm grateful for all of you and for being a part of this La Jolla ISD family. But I really want to wish all of our employees, our families, our students, our staff, everyone, take a break. Take a break. You've worked really hard so far this semester. We'll come back to 3 hard weeks that are really important. And so taking care of yourself and taking care of your families and just sharing in moments of gratitude during this break are really important to restore and revive and rejuvenate. Thank you.
Well said, Dr. Sorensen, and thank you for the recognition of the young man we just lost. Our prayers do go out with the family and his friends, and especially our community. Members of the board, do we have any other things we'd like to say before we adjourn? Our next meeting will be in December. Anybody like to say anything before we adjourn? Seeing that we don't have any, I would like to take this opportunity to wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving, restful, and enjoy it with your families and friends. And it certainly has been a pleasure up to now to work with each and every one of you. I think we've stated that multiple times. And so we're very fortunate. And I give thanks that I work with such great administrators, great staff, great students. It's unfortunate the news we heard earlier in the week. But again, we're a strong community, and I have no doubt that we'll get through this. So with that said, if I don't have any other remarks from the board, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn this meeting at 9 p.m.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned.